I'd like to talk about being kind to your mind and what I mean by that. But before we delve into that, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. It means so much to me. And if you're here for the first time, you're very, very welcome. So be kind to your mind. I've done previous videos about intrusive thoughts, self-hating thoughts, negative ruminating thoughts. Now, your brain has a mind of its own, yeah? And thoughts pop up in your head all the time. And you think, where did that come from? What's that got to do with what I'm doing at the moment or what I'm actually thinking at the moment? Where did that thought come from? And so I've talked about that in previous videos, that when a negative thought comes up in your head, get it by the scruff of its neck and hold it to one side and say, where have you come from? And, you know, what evidence do you have about what you're saying to me? And you'll find that most of the time, there isn't any evidence. It's not true. No one around you has said that whatever it is that your mind is saying to you, no one around you has said that to you. So you're thinking, well, where has it come from? Not all thoughts that pop up in your head are necessarily negative thoughts. But if you were to carry around a journal for one day and write down all the thoughts that pop up in your head that you think, you know, what's that got to do with anything? Because usually they do, but we just throw them out again. We've got a filter. We just filter them out. But when I talk about being kind to your mind, if you've got negative thoughts coming in, yes, you can hold them account and sort of say, you know, I acknowledge you and I can recognize that you are there. You know, where have you come from? What have you done, etc., etc., etc. You can do that. On the other hand, let's say if you have, those of you who have young children around you, perhaps, you know, children have a way of asking you questions. So thoughts that pop up into their heads, they might actually ask you where, you know, when it comes to adults, we have a filter, don't we? So when a odd sort of thought comes up in our heads, we don't necessarily go and ask someone about it. We think, well, that's ridiculous. So let's just throw that out. But with children, we don't do that. We don't start scolding them or telling them or shouting and screaming at them because they've asked us a question. We try and answer their question best, you know, as we, you know, as we best possibly can. We'll answer their questions, and that's usually what we do. So when I talk about being kind to your mind, I'm really relating to it as if it's a young child asking questions. Be kind to it as well, because our mind does have a way of sometimes running away with itself, and sometimes it's good to deal with it the way I sort of suggested, by, you know, interrogating it. But other times we need to be a little bit more, have a bit of more of a gentle approach, I would say, and be less critical and be less harsh, perhaps, because our mind does have a way of saying things, thoughts popping up constantly, all the time. If we were to write some of those thoughts down, we can perhaps even think about where some of those thoughts have come from. And it might be a way of self-reflection and a way of assessing how you are mentally. I tend to do that. I try to do that. And some of the thoughts, yes, completely, if I think about it with my rational mind, I think, well, that's completely irrational thought. You know, that just has popped up out of nowhere. But other times, other thoughts maybe aren't quite as harsh. But if I think about them, I might come to a point where I think, you know, how am I doing mentally? How am I dealing with stress? How am I dealing with my grief symptoms? Because I am grieving. You know, is it that I'm not dealing with them so well? Is it that I might need a little bit of help. It might need that I need to talk to someone. It could mean all sorts of things. But if I'm not even recognizing that these thoughts are popping up into my head, then I'm not acknowledging. And if I'm not acknowledging or recognizing, then I'm not going to process anything. I'm not going to put anything into place to help me with those thoughts. So when I talk about being kind to our minds, I'm saying be mindful about your mind. What is it saying to you? And is it completely irrational? Is it just something ridiculous that we are being overcritical of ourselves? And because a lot of us are. And again, I wouldn't, like, as I say, you wouldn't say some of the things you say to yourself to your best friend or your loved one. So then why do we say it to ourselves? And we mustn't do that. We mustn't. We must recognize and acknowledge when our minds are saying things to us. And if it is completely ridiculous, no one has said those things to us before, they are not true, there's no evidence, then throw them out. Don't entertain them. Other times, there's words and things, that our minds are saying to us that maybe aren't so harsh, but we can still think about them and sort of, if we think about them, write them down, we can possibly process them and deal with them. Because those little things can sometimes mount up into bigger things, right? So it's not a matter of, is it something really harsh, or is it something nothing at all, or it's something very kind to us? There's lots in between as well. So this video is really about when things are popping up into your head, do think about them, do evaluate them, do write them down and have a little check-in as to what's going on. Sometimes I think it can be little messages that you are maybe not dealing with things as best as you could be doing or as well as you'd like to be doing. And I certainly do that, because every day sometimes every day can be a struggle. If I'm struggling with my mental health, if I'm struggling with, missing my son, and it gets difficult for me, every day things can be affected by that. So I need to recognize it. I need to process it. I need to deal with it. I can't just pretend it's not there. If I don't deal with grief, it doesn't go away. It doesn't go and sit in the corner. It doesn't say, oh, Ghazala's busy at the moment, so let's just give her some space. It doesn't do that. It doesn't just sit quietly in the corner. It manifests and it grows bigger if you don't deal with it, and it comes and gets you. So you have to deal with it. You have to give your mind time and be kind to your mind. It's really, really important to do that. Thank you for listening to this video. I do so appreciate you stopping by and watching. Those of you who have subscribed, thank you so, so much. It means so much to me. There's only a few, but it is a few. It's not that nobody is subscribing and no one is watching. It's very early days. It's only been a couple of months. It's not even actually 2 months yet since I've been publishing videos on this channel. So it's very early days, but I do want to build that community where we can help each other. I would like to do that. So please do share this video if you feel that it might be of help to somebody else. Please do share, please do subscribe, please do comment. That would be great. So thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Until then, look after your hearts and souls. Thank you.